My husband cheated, so I divorced him on the spot, and he lost his mind. Chapter 1. My husband and I were the perfect power couple, 10 years of love sealed in marble and money. I thought we were still in love, until his little side piece stormed into my office without his permission. The girl was young and her arrogance filled the room. "Riley will kick you to the curb for me, you old hag." I didn't even blink. I simply turned around, served Julian with divorce papers, and kicked him out of the company. That was when he panicked. He dragged the girl to her knees in front of me and begged for forgiveness. "You've got no looks and no talent. What gave you the right to hog Riley for 10 years? Riley promised me the Goldwater villa. He knows you want it too, but he gave it to me. Sooner or later he'll dump you, you washed-up crone." Jade stared down at me, palms flattening against my desk. The man she kept calling Riley, Julian, had been my husband for a decade. A few days earlier a friend had hinted, "Riley's been cozy with a junior staffer. Want me to handle it?" She tossed over a stack of photos of Julian and Jade. They weren't even that intimate, unless you count Jade resting a hand on Julian's waist under a rain-soaked umbrella. I glanced once, neither approved nor refused. 10 years together deserved better than a public spectacle. So I gave him 3 days to cut Jade off, no questions asked. He agreed without hesitation, even apologized. "Sorry I gave you reason to doubt me." Yet here was his mistress, strutting into my office like she owned it. "Goldwater is prime real estate, ultra-private, most people can't even find the gates." Was Julian planning to tuck his pretty bird in a golden cage? I looked at Jade and felt my lip curl in disgust. Decision made, I speed-dialed Julian and ordered him over. Jade gaped, then burst out laughing. "You think Riley's some stray dog? Call him and you'll only disgust him more." I ignored her, fished a cigarette from the drawer, lit it, and let it dangle. Jade coughed theatrically and actually tried to snatch it from me. "I can't stand smoke, put that out." The moment her hand shot out I tapped the ash. Embers scattered onto her forearm, she yelped and recoiled, staring as if I were insane. "You bitch, you burned me." She lunged to slap me. I pinned her to the carpet with one free hand. 20 years of competitive combat training, dismantling a fragile gold digger takes zero effort. She lay whimpering just as the door opened and Julian walked in. Jade's eyes lit up. She flung her arms around his legs. "Riley, thank God." Ms. Vance burned me with her cigarette and hit me. Julian's brows knitted, the exact look he wears when he's embarrassed and furious. His gaze flicked to me, half guilty, half angry, as if I'd humiliated him by roughing up his toy. "Serena, she is still my employee." I cut him off, voice glacial, "Save it. Without your clearance she'd never waltz into my office." "Julian, have I spoiled you too long?" In all our years I've never raised my voice to him. No matter how many messes he made, I cleaned them up without complaint, let alone public scolding. One sentence and his eyes reddened with rage. "You, how dare you?" Jade tightened her grip on his hand, fanning the flames. "Exactly, Riley. She doesn't respect you at all. How could she talk to you like that?" She expected him to explode at me. Instead Julian jerked free and snapped, incredulous, "Who do you think you are? Since when do you tell me what to do?" Chapter 2. His fury didn't surprise me. After 10 years of marriage, I know Julian better than anyone. He can spoil Jade, keep her like a pet, but he will never let her meddle with his interests. Our union is equal parts love and business, smash it and we both hemorrhage money and face. Bottom line, he only truly loves himself. His anger now is simply because I beat his dog without checking the owner first. The cigarette had burned down. I stubbed it out and spoke coolly. "I gave you 3 days to handle her. You didn't." Julian stepped closer, forcing calm. "I screwed up." "You hate her, fine, I'll ship her off. Why lower yourself to fight her?" When I stayed silent he glanced back, voice steely, "Apologize to Ms. Vance. Now." Jade gaped, tears trembling on her lashes. Julian barked again, "Move it." She scrubbed her eyes and spat out, "Sorry." Julian smiled, gave my hand a coaxing shake. She apologized. "Let's call it even. If you're still mad, go date someone else on the side, we'll both play, no strings." Translation, he'd keep Jade, I'd swallow my pride, and we'd pretend nothing happened. But I've never tolerated grit in my gears. I gave him the chance because I still cared, and because flirting isn't the same as cheating. The instant he said open marriage, my mind was made up. I yanked my hand free, revulsion thick in my voice. "Play around? You think you're worthy of that?" Julian blinked, then his tone iced over. "Serena, sure, you're more capable than me, but don't write me off. I run almost half of Vance. I'm offering you an exit ramp, take it. We're adults. Monogamy is a fairy tale. With my money and status you can land any guy you want, but keep acting like this and you'll tank the company. His voice rose. He laughed coldly. Besides, what do you gain from divorce? Don't push your luck. I rotated the armrest of my chair and exhaled. I fell for Julian because of his fearless self-belief, his swagger. I admired his confidence, his spark. He still doesn't get it, Vance has outgrown him. You still don't get it, do you? I don't tolerate a single grain of sand in my eye. No matter how much I liked you, I'll never stomach a husband who's been passed around like some worn-out sneaker. Julian's hands clenched into fists, fury turning his face scarlet. You're calling me a worn-out sneaker? He bunched my collar in both hands so hard the knuckles went white. I flicked a calm glance at Jade, then back at him. A contemptuous smirk tugged at my lips. If you'd climb into bed with trash like that, how could you be anything better? Julian, spare me the theatrics. Tomorrow my lawyer delivers the divorce petition, and we're done. He stammered, lips trembling. The grip on my collar suddenly slackened. He staggered back several steps, repeating in disbelief, You're divorcing me? Chapter 3 I won't accept it. I gave him a cool once-over and let out a short laugh. It's already signed and sealed. On what grounds do you refuse? Vance still had back-to-back meetings, and I wasn't about to let his melodrama derail the company's momentum, so I stopped arguing and strode off. Julian tried to chase me down, but Jade blocked him. Riley, if you run after her, she'll decide you can't live without her. A man as brilliant as you can have anyone. Serena's just some older woman with lousy taste. Besides, you're the largest board member, kick her out and become the sole boss. That speech actually froze him in place. I walked into the conference room unruffled and chaired the regular session. By the time it wrapped it was 10 at night. My phone rang like an ambulance siren. The moment I saw Julian's name I killed the call. I hung up, he redialed. After the 5th round I gave in and answered. Drunk and slurring, he demanded, Serena, come pick me up. In the background metal music screamed loud enough to shred eardrums. My thumb hovered over end call. Then I remembered we weren't divorced yet. If something happened to him, the headache would land on me. I grabbed my keys and drove to the velvet room. The instant I stepped into the private booth a bucket of water crashed over my head. I dodged partly, but the front of my suit was soaked. The pail clattered across the floor and rolled to Julian's feet. He had an arm looped around Jade's neck, draped over her like a stole, eyes glittering with challenge. Serena, you wanted a divorce, yet one phone call and you come running like a besotted puppy. The great CEO Vance, acting like a mangy stray nobody can shoo away. Jade burst into wild laughter. Mangy stray? More like a drowned rat, ha 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 ha. I inhaled once, clawing back a thread of sanity, and turned to leave, only for Jade to vault off the sofa and seize my wrist. Did I say you could walk out? You slapped me this afternoon, time to settle the score. Her fist whistled toward my face. I stepped back and slammed her to the carpet. This time I didn't pull the blow. She hit the floor hard, blood trickling from one nostril. Julian shrieked, Serena, you just assaulted someone. Do you even want to keep your job? He swung a slap. I caught his wrist and flung it aside. God knows what poison Jade had whispered into that fool's ear. Wobbling upright, Jade snarled, stop play acting, Ice Queen. You rushed here to cling to your title. One word from Julian and you're out on your ass. I straightened my wet collar while my assistant brought fresh clothes. Faced with such childish taunts I could only laugh. Go ahead, try me. Chapter 4. Next morning every employee stared as I entered. Unruffled, I headed for my office, only to find my belongings piled outside. Jade lounged in the boss chair, stilettos propped on the desk. She whistled as I appeared. You're fired. I discovered Julian had posted a termination letter on the internet and named Jade the new president. Remembering last night's threats, I almost pitied him. For years I'd worked in the shadows, then handed Julian every credit. To let him live his youthful dream of being CEO, I'd paved a golden road. To spare him the label of puppet elevated by his wife, I'd kept my role secret. Only a few major board members knew the real power behind Vance was me. The moment Julian arrived those board veterans filed in, voices overlapping. Riley, you can't fire Ms. Vance, she's our cornerstone. Without her the company would never have scaled this high. Julian curled his lip, so what? I'm the owner, my decision stands. Anyone who disagrees can pack up and leave. He thought the bluff would silence them, but these directors had thicker resumes and spines. They weren't so easily cowed. Ms. Vance founded this firm. If anyone exits, it's you. We know exactly who's sweated and who's coasted. Majority shares won't protect you when the rest of us walk. She's bent over backward for you, and you kick her for a girl toy? We'll pull every dollar and stand by her. Their razor-sharp rebuke sliced Julian to nothing. He should have boiled with rage, instead he wavered. So many lined up behind me. If he fought, what wreckage would remain? Jade couldn't contain herself. Julian, this is our golden ticket. Boot these board fossils and the kingdom is yours. You'll be the almighty Riley, and every profit, every dividend, flows to us. Chapter 5 enough. A commanding voice cracked across the room, cutting Jade short. Julian's mother burst in, dabbing sweat from her temples, complexion flushed. I'd phoned her at dawn and laid out Julian's antics. In the end I told her I wanted a divorce. Our split would ripple through both families, so I owed her the facts. She refused to accept over the line, insisting we talk face to face. Seeing the standoff, she exhaled in relief, then lashed out. Julian, unfilial wretch, who gave you permission to treat your wife like dirt for some other woman? You must have porridge in your head. Eleanor's voice cracked like a whip. You dare to fire her? Let me make this clear, if you do, you're no son of mine. I'll cut you off without a backward glance. There was nothing mild about the threat. Eleanor's razor-sharp gaze swept over Jade, and a cold laugh slipped through her teeth. Nothing but a homewrecker who climbed in on her back, and now she thinks she can bark orders? Color drained from Jade's face, raw humiliation flashed in her eyes. But in front of Julian's mother she had nowhere to vent the rage, so she turned it on me. Julian, scolded, didn't dare talk back. Finally Eleanor shot them both a withering glare, then smiled at me. Serena, I've already taught them a lesson. Divorce isn't child's play, after all. Julian and I had started as a merger of two powerful families, perfectly matched on paper. For 10 years I had toiled without rest, expanding the company far beyond its original scope. The only ones who profited were our two clans. Eleanor patted my shoulder, about to say more, when Julian cut in sharply. Mom, enough. His eyes carried a desperate edge, as though someone had a hand around his throat. Fine, if that's how it is, I won't divorce her. Jade, cowering behind him, panicked. Julian, if you stay married, does that mean I'm the other woman forever? Relief flooded Eleanor, until the shameless girl spoke. Fury boiled over, she slapped Jade to the floor. You have no voice here. Julian's heart broke. He rushed to help Jade up, the picture of star-crossed lovers. There's no need to hit her. I watched the entire scene with detached amusement before speaking coolly. I'm the one who filed, there's no reversing it. My mind is made up, Eleanor. You don't need to persuade me. When I switched to calling her Eleanor, she knew the door had slammed shut. She gave Julian a disappointed stare, then turned to me, grief etched on her face. The company has been yours all along. If there's a divorce, it should stay with you. Julian's eyes bulged. Mom, I helped build that place, how can you? She cut him off. Shut your mouth. Haven't you disgraced us enough? Even divorced, I'll never let that tramp through our door. She's a stain on the family name. She tapped out a message, and within moments 2 tall security guards jogged over. They each took one of Julian's arms, ready to haul him out. No amount of kicking or shouting swayed her, she was dragging him home tonight. Jade shrank into the corner, trembling. I looked down at her cowardice and almost laughed. Some girls think beauty plus ambition equals a golden ticket, but old money isn't stupid. I'd seen a dozen Jades, arm candy today, replaced tomorrow. She still dreamed of stepping into my shoes. I'd show her it was only a dream. Chapter 6. Our divorce suit hit the docket fast. Julian's 30% equity stake was converted to cash and wired to my account. He had cheated, yet without hard evidence he walked away with something. We split communal property 70-30, my favor. He and Jade resigned from the company, but they didn't crawl out. 1/3 of a fortune is still a fortune, and the Vance name opened doors. Before he left he demanded a final meeting. I sat at my desk and waited. He swaggered in, every inch the cocky air. You know I love you, Jade was just recreation. She never threatened your throne. Divorce gains you nothing. Serena, you may have forced the company from me, but can you actually run it alone? Watch and learn. I smiled faintly. Looking forward to the show. Knowing Julian, he wouldn't slink away. He sank his payout into a startup cloned from my portfolio, an open declaration of war. I barely glanced at the headlines, mostly I felt contempt. Had he retired to a beach, he could have lived like a king. Instead he would probably lose his shirt. Less than a week later my assistant stormed in. Mr. Vance is poaching staff in broad daylight, bigger salaries, sweeter perks. 6 key engineers already quit. I was mid-negotiation on another deal and barely shrugged. I almost owed him for the purge. I'd rather run lean than host traders. Poor talent is priceless, but loyalty is non-negotiable. Let him. Anyone who wants out can leave today. The assistant didn't understand but carried out the order. In the end 8 employees walked, 6 from our next-gen project. Richard phoned personally to apologize. Avery, I'm mortified. I never thought he'd stoop to raiding you. He wanted détente without compensation. I humored him and let the matter slide. I scrapped the product line and greenlit a new platform overnight. A friend who knew me well laughed. If I didn't trust your sanity, I'd call you crazy. You just torched $100 million program. Julian, being Julian, would now rush our abandoned formula to market. Better to cut losses than chase bad money. Besides, that prototype had fatal flaws I no longer wanted to bear. If he coveted the scraps, he could feast. Chapter 7. Sure enough, Julian launched early, 10 days ahead of my projection. His flagship? A miracle mask promising blemish-free skin for every type, painless and cheap. Traffic exploded, his firm's stock quintupled in a week. That night I attended a crucial cocktail reception for our next partnership. I hadn't expected to run straight into Julian. He held his chin high, preening like a royal swan, Jade beside him in a razor-sharp blazer, equally smug. A circle of would-be investors buzzed around them. Julian spotted me through the crowd and strolled over. President Vance, long time no see. I'm really sorry, my casual move must have cost you at least $100 million. If you regret it. I gave a soft laugh, cutting him off. You made money once by stealing trade secrets, can you really do it twice? The line stabbed his sore spot, the smirk vanished and cold laughter spilled out. I came over because we were once husband and wife and I wanted to give you a way out. Since you don't appreciate it, don't blame me for what comes next. He turned and left. Only then did I start looking for tonight's real target, Winston, the Hawthorne heir. The reception was being held on his family's turf to warm everyone up for the upcoming board auction. Unfortunately, I couldn't find him anywhere in the ballroom. Figuring I would leave empty-handed, I headed for the terrace to clear my head with cold air. Serena? A clear male voice rang out. I turned, startled. The man in front of me was Winston, the very person I'd been hunting for. We'd been classmates, but we'd lost touch after he went abroad. Seeing him now felt like stumbling out of a time machine. Long time no see. For a second I thought my eyes were playing tricks. He smiled, stepped to my side, and the night breeze lifted the hair at his temples. I collected myself and smiled back. Yeah, long time. I'm here for the Hawthorne project. Want to hear the pitch? Interest flickered in his eyes. Talk to me. After I finished, the calm on his face gave way to open excitement. I love your plan. The board auction's the day after tomorrow, I'll see you there. My shoulders relaxed, that was as good as a handshake. This trip had been worth it. On the ride home my phone buzzed with a text from my assistant. President Vance, we've nailed it down, the miracle mask still carries the same unresolved risk. It's only half finished, should we leak it? I flexed my fingers and typed back, no. Julian was swaggering right now, I'd let the fire burn hotter. The wider the buzz and the bigger the sales, the uglier the crash when the truth surfaced. I don't forgive, Julian had aimed at me, so I had no intention of letting his company rise. Chapter 8. Exactly as I'd expected, less than half a month later scattered posts began popping up online, cursing the mask for wrecking people's skin. But every complaint was buried almost as soon as it appeared, replaced by fresh glowing reviews. Take one down, 2 more popped up, no amount of press releases could smother the truth. That was when I stepped in, exposing Julian's company and giving those angry posts the algorithmic push they needed. Overnight the darling product became a public pincushion. Julian called. I let it ring twice, then picked up. This was you, wasn't it? You let me copy it because you knew the formula was toxic. I sighed at his snarling tone. You were in the lab yourself when we developed it. If you'd paid the slightest attention to your own company, you'd have known. He slammed the phone down so hard I felt the vibration through the speaker. I should have felt triumphant, instead I felt hollow. 10 years of marriage, even after he found someone new, the years we'd loved each other weren't erased. When we were starting the company I'd work until I forgot to eat. He would spend whole days pitching investors, then come home and still take care of the house. When my parents died he never left my side. Objectively, without him I might not have survived that stretch. That history made him the most important person in my world, so important that when he cheated the first time I gave him another chance. Maybe because I had placed him on that pedestal, the second time, when he stood behind another woman, I walked away without looking back. I cannot stomach betrayal. The divorce hurt so much I could feel my heart beat in my throat. Thinking of that, a rare flicker of doubt surfaced. Maybe I shouldn't have driven Julian this far into the ground? I opened my phone and saw his brand new press release. The miracle mask was developed primarily by Glorio Corporation. Our company was unaware of the remaining flaw. I sincerely apologize and will refund customers at 10 times the purchase price. Glorio was my company. He'd shoveled every ounce of blame onto me. The statement worked. The online mob pivoted and charged my gates. The tiny hesitation inside me died. Mercy is wasted on a man like Julian. I told PR to draft a counterstatement. Julian had stolen the mask's research, and I had the timestamps to prove it. I'd expected the poaching raid and had left a paper trail the night I halted the project. Evidence stacked, he couldn't wriggle out. His company's stock, which had been climbing, face-planted back into the gutter. I knew how much money and pride he'd poured into that launch. I also knew the loss would gut him. A few billion in market value evaporated, damage he couldn't afford. Richard still came, shame in tow, and to my surprise he dragged Jade with him. She looked older than she had a few weeks ago. Avery, I know you're angry, so I brought her to apologize. I never let Jade set foot in our family. The Vance daughter-in-law seat is still yours. He sighed deeply. If you'll just say the word, I'll put her on a plane today. She'll never come back. Jade shrank behind him. She didn't even try to argue. She must have realized Julian's crisis was unsalvageable, because she nodded at everything Richard said. Eleanor and Richard had always treated me well. Over the years I'd racked up real debts of gratitude. But no matter how kind the relatives, they were still merchants at heart. And you don't bargain emotion with merchants. Uncle, go home, I can't help Julian. He grabbed my hand, tears sliding down wrinkles. If you won't help him, nobody can save Riley. Just share the blame, and Riley's company might survive. You'd lose nothing. I pulled my hand free and replied quietly, by help you mean smear myself so he can walk away clean. I can't do that. Richard clutched his chest and vented all his fury on Jade. Apologize to President Vance, now. Jade's legs buckled, she dropped to her knees. I'm sorry, President Vance, everything before was my fault. I glanced at her and decided she'd dirted the carpet of my office. Uncle, you don't have to bring her again. No matter how many times you come, my answer will always be no. Just as Richard swung his foot at Jade, I called my assistant and, ever so politely, showed them out. At the same time I instructed, from now on, don't let anyone into my office without my say-so. I didn't want to see Julian come begging anymore. Chapter 9. In the end, Julian's company went bust. Fortunately he'd pulled out just in time and salvaged some cash. Jade left him without hesitation. He lived off handouts from his parents, not destitute, but a world away from his old life. I heard all this over lunch with Winston while we ironed out details of a partnership. Indignantly he said, the Vance name is a laughingstock now. Who knows what he was thinking, passing up a rising star for a gold-digging nobody. I knew he was defending me, so I smiled, means we weren't fated. You can't force these things. He sighed and said nothing more. Outside the restaurant I bumped into someone. I looked down and it was Julian. He hadn't expected to meet me either, his face drained from red to white. You. I stepped back first and kept my distance. His eyes rimmed red, voice thick. Serena, I've missed you so much these days. I know I was an idiot. Jade can't compare to a single strand of your hair. I only used her to provoke you. I never actually cheated in the flesh. Could you give me one more chance? His hair was disheveled, pitiful. I looked down at him and felt nothing at all. My heart, it seemed, had already evicted him without my noticing. We're finished. With that I headed for the car to ride to Vance with Winston. Only then did Julian spot the man behind me. He clutched my sleeve, on the verge of collapse. Serena. Have you fallen for someone else? How could you love another? Winston gave him a sidelong glance, voice cold. Double standards, Mr. Vance? You cheat, yet the ex-wife must stay celibate? Want her to guard her chastity for you forever? I didn't contradict Winston. If this drew a clean line, all the better. Julian twisted my jacket in his fists, then hugged me from behind. You're only using him to hurt me, right? You're punishing me. You don't actually love him, I can tell. I pried him off. Have you lost your mind? Keep your hands to yourself or I'll file for sexual harassment. While I seethed, he kept staring at me with glassy devotion. It turned my stomach. Winston and I exchanged a look, and I slid into the car. Julian lunged for the door, I locked it and sped away. In the mirror he chased us like a madman, then tripped on a stone, tears still clinging to his lashes. I didn't look again. Winston and I talked shop for the rest of the ride. Chapter 10. After that, Julian kept sending gifts to my office, sometimes a giant bouquet of roses, sometimes even an engagement ring. I refused everything. It was becoming harassment. My wish to open an overseas branch burned brighter. I needed somewhere he couldn't reach. Winston approved. Foreign markets are wide open. If you're game, let's co-invest. Only a fool leaves money on the table. I laughed and accepted. I'd scouted locations years ago. Everything was ready. On the way to Eastbrook I was cut off by a black sedan. Out jumped Julian. He hurled himself at me. I shoved him to the pavement. You followed me? He bit his lip, mortified. If I hadn't, how would I know you were skipping the country? You'd rather run to the other side of the world than see me? Am I that vile? He sat in the road blocking my bumper. Driving on would run him over. I'd miss my flight if this dragged on, and my patience snapped. Julian, are you done? No matter how you cling, I could never love someone so disgusting. He stared up, eyes bloodshot. No. I love you. You forgave me once, why not again? I'm already ruined, can't you pity me? His mind was unraveling. Arguing with lunacy is pointless. While I kept him talking I signaled my assistant. The moment Julian was restrained I gunned the engine and left. I made the flight with minutes to spare, Winston beside me. After hearing the latest insanity he said wryly, leaving the country was the right call. Who knows what he'd try next? We'd been talking more and more, tastes aligned, worldviews matched. I counted him a soulmate, nothing was off limits. As the city shrank to a speck Winston brushed my hand. So, open to marriage again? Past 30, in the thick of empire building, I hadn't given it a thought. My plan was work first, life later. Yet meeting his gaze, I heard myself answer, if I meet the right person, maybe. He smiled and let it rest. Adults don't always need everything spelled out. Above the clouds my heart fluttered. I pressed a palm to my chest, feeling it tilt toward a new horizon. The future suddenly beckoned. Well, everything old had burned away, and happiness, at last, felt possible. The end. Thank you for listening to today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like and share with friends. We look forward to your thoughts in the comments. Drop us a line, and don't forget to subscribe for more gripping tales. See you next time.